Hello, Peaceful Profits Nation. Chanel here with an exciting client spotlight episode for you today. So today we're talking to our client, Jeff Sauer. Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Jeff is the founder of datadrivenyou.com, successful agency owner, business coach, blogger, professor, and a retired digital nomad after 4 years on the road. A firm believer in data-driven marketing, Jeff's work has been featured in many industry publication and best of lists. Jeff has had 50,000 plus digital marketers enroll in his Google certification programs. He has delivered over 100 keynote presentations and workshops in 20 countries. Okay, I love it. I love that intro. There's so many things I want to dive into. To start, tell us a little bit about being a digital nomad. Where did you live? What were some of your highlights of that experience?
Yeah, so my wife and I got tired of the grind around 2015, and first we moved from Minnesota to California, right in downtown San Francisco. Thought that change of pace would be what did it for us to get us going, but it didn't. And we still had this urge to travel. And so I was going from, I was doing a lot of speaking gigs, and I'd go to one country and then I'd come back home, change my laundry, and go back to another one. I was like, all right, let's just minimize the connection between places and just permanently go on the road, traveling from place to place. And during that time, we did over 40 different countries. Wow. And worked on building up the business that is now called Data Driven You. And it was cool. Like, it was basically, we'd spend some time, we spent the most time in Thailand. We also spent some long stints in places like Portugal, South America, in Buenos Aires, Italy a lot, Australia and New Zealand. So we sort of did everything,
Yeah.
and there's some good parts and bad parts of everything, right? Some things you love, some things that you didn't love. But the main thing was the internet is the great equalizer. You can basically get online anywhere. Just being, in these different cultures gives you different perspective, different respect for what's going on. And it just really made me more hyper aware of how lucky I was to grow up how I did, but then also how you can pretty much achieve wherever you want to go as long as you're motivated and you know what to focus on and you know what you're doing, right? And so it was a really cool, eye-opening, world-opening experience for me that I wouldn't trade for the world. And but also I'm glad that I'm not doing it right now that I have a 4-year-old kid. It's not quite as practical as it used to be.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that would be really difficult with children, but such a cool experience that you got to go and have. And thank you for sharing just a little piece of that with us. So you came here to Peaceful Profits starting a brand new offer. And we see that sometimes. A difference that I see with you is you had a lot of past business entrepreneurial experience. And so my question, where I want to start this episode today, is why did you choose to get help here in our Done With You program instead of just say, hey, I know this, I've been doing this for a while, and run with it and do it all yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And honestly, it resonated with me specifically how Peaceful Profits and Mike was talking about the world, that they basically, like, the emails described me and the offers described what I was going through. And what I was going through was, one, I have been successful in the past. I'm not a complete newbie to business. I've coached a lot of businesses. I had my successful business that exited 2 years ago for 8 figures. And so by all means, I'm good at a lot of things. I guess I'm bragging about that, but like, I'm pretty good at a lot of different things. But one of the things that I'm not the best at is taking all the things that I know and turning it into more specific offers and really boiling down into a specific thing. And so what ends up happening is, if you have a lot of general knowledge and a lot of wealth of knowledge, you sometimes overanalyze things, or you make it really, it's really hard to pare down into the one thing that you should learn, right? So being a teacher, instead of saying learn this one thing and your life will just completely change, it's more like learn all these things and your life will be better, right? So it's really more, it's not as prescriptive as it could be. And what ends up happening is, when you do that with a business, you see that you start to hit a ceiling with certain ways of, with your audience, right? So if you have an existing audience, you hit a ceiling because you're not getting in front of new people, because you're not you're not getting in front of the right people. You don't like, if you don't have a great offer, it's really difficult to advertise profitably. And so customer acquisition gets really challenging when you're a generalist or when you have a lot of good general knowledge, but you're not giving somebody the specific thing you can focus on. The other thing is, I felt like I didn't have my flagship program that was easy to deliver. And so the whole idea of a peaceful profits and making it so you could deliver this program, your flagship program, in a way that didn't stress you out every time you closed a new deal or was, in a business model that you liked, that definitely appealed to me, because even though I was successful with my training business, I never really had that peace at night that this was like, that it wouldn't just go away if I took my eyes off the prize, right? So I wanted to create something that was really more lifestyle enabling than something that was where I was before. And I think that I arrived at, before doing this, before signing up, I had arrived at, it was going to be my offer that got me there. But I really had to go back to the drawing board with, how do I create a specific offer that's going to work versus, like I said, the more generalist type knowledge, and the more I can solve all your problems, just give me time, versus I can solve this one problem.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good answer. I think it's really powerful to know that about yourself and to recognize, okay, I know a lot of things, and if I got better at this one thing, it would change how I run my business. It would change a lot of things in my business, and to be able to see what is needed there. It just comes up in my mind. Like, we can get so you said, oh, I'm bragging here, but I take that actually as the opposite, that there was this humility there that, like, okay, I know I'm good at a lot of things, but I also know where I could use help. And I think that is what's allowed you to be so successful, to recognize the need for this help, and to come in teachable and ready to learn and ready to have that gap in your knowledge filled in. So you mentioned you wanted to create a stronger offer. Tell us about your offer. Who do you help? How do you help them?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll clarify a little bit, is that I actually came into this not even just with a new offer, but more of like a second brand. So the data-driven marketing, or datadrivenyou.com, what we do is we teach people digital marketing skills, hard skills around how to be more data-driven with your marketing, and how to measure it and how to get better results. So it's like a professional training program. And a lot of people, after they get through those programs, they say, okay, well, what can I do with this knowledge? I've learned everything. I've gotten certified. I want to start my own business. How do I start my own business as a service provider doing these things? And I was like, okay, well, and I would teach my students how to make money off of it. And some of them did really well, extremely well. Like they have, 7-figure agencies just doing the stuff that I taught them. And I'd have these programs, just sort of like an advanced program in my data driven catalog, where I would teach them these business skills, how to be an agency owner. But what happened was, every time that I did it, I would launch it, and I'd do a really good launch, like really well. And then the next time I launched it, it would be crickets. Like, it was like up and down, like, so, and I think that a lot of it just came down to, I hit the mark with people, but then the next time I didn't make it in a repeatable way. And so coming back to the drawing board now, what I want to do is I want to create an offer that hits people on their timeline as opposed to mine. So part of the reason why sometimes the launch didn't go well before is because I'd launch it at a time where maybe it was like in between the holidays or after the holidays, or, I just found out it was the wrong time of year to launch something. And then that really affected the ups and downs of what was happening there. So it was like a good launch, bad launch type thing.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really want that. So I wanted a more evergreen offer. I wanted something that if I had the marketing, actually the idea of a book, putting a book out there, having that book work for me all year round on somebody else's timeline, using it as a way to get leads, and not just leads, but highly qualified leads, because the readers are more qualified than other people, people who are looking to better themselves in the book form, or running their, with their business. If they read it, they're likely to want to help with the implementation. And so I needed to basically tear down what made me successful, which was a lot of really good value and insights, but turn it more into a framework, something that allowed me to do it consistently, and the ability to be out there more often, so that I'm not basically, if I make the decision to launch it during a bad time, or something that's not going well, or people don't get the emails, then it doesn't make or break things that are going on. So I wanted an offer that was on the person's as opposed to my timeline whenever I was ready to launch something. And so
Yeah.
what the offer is now is it's evolving, just to be honest about it, is that I created my high ticket, my flagship program. It's called Profit Pillars, or I actually call it the Profit Pipeline. And the goal is to help somebody get a new business development prospecting plan and execution of that in place in their business in the first 90 days of when they sign up. And so that involves knowing who your target customer is, getting content into the marketplace to reach them, and then how to close. Like how I have a pitch deck, like how do you price it? How do you hire people to get the work done for you so that you're not doing it all yourself? How do you use process in order to make sure it's done consistently? So basically, it's like an operating system for how to run your business when you want to go from low six figures to $1 million plus. And so that's what the offer is inside the Profit Pipeline implementation program.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some coaching that goes along with it. There's all kinds of other goodies that go along with that keep you on track. A weekly mastermind where I meet with the members and give them feedback and so on. And so that's really what the offer is, and it's gone well. But also, as I'm going to the part where I'm writing the book, which is going to be the front end piece, right? I'm in the middle of that right now. What I'm learning is that not everybody's timeline is that they want to spend 90 days developing their prospecting plan, right? And so I'm actually making the book even more of a quick win. So something where they can win in a matter of hours, basically, instead of going and developing your own lead system, which you can do later and you can do in my implementation program. We're going to help you win by anybody that you get in front of. Anytime you have a sales opportunity, it's a 3-step approach to building your offer. I call it service stacking. And service stacking allows you to know exactly what to offer somebody the first time, second time, and third time, so that they are basically buying your whole suite of services, as opposed to sort of like just guessing as to what you can put in place for them, right? So it's stacking together multiple offers that don't really take a lot of effort to do, but they have a high impact for your client in a way that they say yes to the first one, and then they're immediately ready to go one, and then they're ready to go for the next one. So the book is going to be about that. And then that'll be something where I'll help them implement. And then when they're ready, they can move on to the big program, which is let's fix your entire business and get you into that 7-figure range.
Okay, that's exciting. That's awesome. So tell me then I love that you are focusing on this for your book. First of all, that it's quick wins, that they're going to get this and be able to just immediately implement, have this quick win. And then how does that then work as part of your framework? Help me see that transition. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the framework allows it basically is a way that you can. So let's just talk about how it would happen in the real world, right? So if you're a service provider, meaning you do something for somebody else. You don't have a hard product. You have a service that you give them, whether it's consulting with them. I'm from the agency world, so I provided marketing services. It could even work with a dentist, even or a lawyer or something like that. Basically, a professional service that you put out there. When a lead comes to you, maybe they call you, maybe you meet them at a networking event, maybe however a lead opportunity comes into your world. You ask them a series of questions, pretty straightforward questions, and then based on the answers to those questions, you're going to decide what you're going to offer them on that first opportunity. So you don't present them with that offer, but you listen to what they're asking, what their problems are, and then you say what type of offer you're going to give them. And there's just a handful of offers you really would want to do at the beginning. I would map you with which offer you put in front of them. Then once you know what offer you're going to do, you would do what's called a scorecard, and you'd tell them where they're deficient. You'd basically either do the assessment on their behalf or have them self-assess. And you say, hey, here's where you really need help. And then you would present to them your offer, the first one. And then you say, once we figure this thing out, then we're going to move on to the next project, the next one. Here's your way you're going to solve the problems you have, the problems that we uncovered by asking the questions at the beginning. And then afterwards, here's how you're going to price it. And then not only how are you going to price it, but here's how you can turn this into a 1 or 2 or 3 year client that keeps on paying you over and over again by building on top of that initial win that you had with them. And so that the framework is I'm workshopping it right now, but it's QUESST, so like the Quest framework, right? Cool. And that allows you to ask questions. Actually, I'm trying to think what the next one is. It's Wow, I'm drawing a blank as to what the E is right now. And then it's and then it's the security offer, which is like a low risk offer, the stack, which is stacking everything on top of it. And then the E is or the T is terms, getting your pricing right. Right. So the whole idea here is to come up with an offer for them on within the first 15 minutes, and then use your sales process in order to tell them, here's where this time we spent together, here's how you're going to turn it into a long-term relationship.
Mm.
And then the offer, the high ticket offer, basically is, how do we implement this in your business so that you can grow from low six figures or high five figures to $1 million, and you don't really blink, right? You do it in a way that will get you there. Because my agency had gotten to about $10 million in revenue using this method, and so I help people go from struggling in the six figure range to that seven figure and beyond range.
Amazing. Okay. And it's so fun to hear the process. We often you see businesses in their end final state where they know off the top of their head, QUESST, right? And it's fun actually to see this developing stage where like, oh yeah, what did I say E was going to be? We're going to skip that for now. It's great because it's all part of the process and it's all part of the development. And what a cool framework to have. And I love that you're beginning with the end in mind is what I'm seeing in this. Like it's this building this great vision of, helping create that vision for your people of what it can be. And that's really cool.
Yeah. And the E stands for expectations, which is basically setting expectations as to where they'll be when they're done. Right. So it's future framing where they're going to be when they work with you, as opposed to being in their current frustrated state, for example.
Gotcha. Perfect. That goes right along with what we were just talking about, right? With that vision of the end in mind. So exactly. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about, as you came in, you've had some major success with this new offer. Tell us a little bit about your recent successes.
Yeah. So we as we were validating the offer, I know the expectation is to get one, right? Mm-hmm. We got in our first round, just doing some outreach to my existing audience. We had 4 people join the offer in the first week or two, which was really good. Gave us the momentum, the validation that it's working. And they're really happy. So all 4 of them have given us testimonials, told us that they really enjoy it and really look forward to what's going on. Most of them they're nearing completion for the first 90-day period. So we're working on, continuity. Do they stay with us? What do we offer them after that? And then also, how do we get the next group of people coming in? Now, I didn't set out wanting this to be more cohort style, but I also wanted to let things go through. And then I've had a lot of learnings as I go through it about the program, how to reiterate that. I was actually building the program as we went along. So as they were going through it, I was still recording videos. And so I haven't quite picked up on the second wave of people coming through as quickly as I wanted to, but also that's mainly because I'm focused now on the book, because I'm worried. I'm not worried about it. I'm looking more forward to the long-term acquisition. So I have a bigger new audience as opposed to renting the audience from my other business. And so I think that I've tapped out my other business audience enough to the point where now I need to go and find new customers. And the only really way to do that is to get the book out there. Right. And so, this will happen. I'm doing a workshop in a few days. It'll have been done by the time this goes out there, right? But and it's basically, I'm doing my book as a form of a workshop live to a group of people, and I've had a bunch of people sign up for that, and they're going to get the framework, and we're validating. I'm getting their questions, and then we're going to turn that into the book. So I'm sort of just trying to push this through as fast as I can to get something out there. So then we can get into the editing phase. We can get into the rearranging and stuff like that. But I was sort of getting this analysis paralysis of like, how do I get this thing done? And honestly, the big breakthrough was going through the Peaceful Profits module that mentions like, hey, here's your book structure, right? Don't overthink it. You need why you need a framework, or why you need. I'm gonna butcher this, but the next one is what your framework is, and then how they can implement your framework, right? So within reason, those things, and that's what I'm doing. And it made doing this workshop so much easier. It made coming up with the framework easier. It made so much,
Yeah.
it's made life a lot easier to just paint by numbers a little bit, like formulas for how to create a framework. We're actually using that in our other business as well. So like there's like a formula for how to create a framework that's in the Peaceful Profits implementation program. We're applying that to everything we're doing now. And it's actually helping my team out a lot with direction, as opposed to like, hey, what are we doing here? We're starting with the Peaceful Profits methods first, and then we're filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
So we know that we're starting with a sound premise, as opposed to more of a brainstorm with no parameters, right? So this has given us a lot of parameters and background that we know that we're going to win.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And what a great idea to basically teach your book as a workshop. That's going to make your book so much better. It's going to get people in the door for your next group or
Yeah,
cohort,
testimonials, success stories,
yes,
all those things. Yeah.
that's so smart. That's so great. Now, one of the things I want to talk about, circling back to where we were at the beginning, you came in with a lot of business experience already. What skills that you brought with you have made you successful here in this journey?
Yeah, I would say that the ability to teach is, I think, important, and be solid with your thoughts, right? The ability to take your knowledge and turn it into a framework, or they say that to teach is to learn twice. And
Yeah.
I agree with that, right? So to have that validation and to turn something that you know intuitively into a framework, I think is a really cool thing that actually I'm good at that. But also, honestly, I was doing frameworks in a more patting myself on the back versus solving somebody else's problem. So that was a
Mm,
missing thing for me. Like, being good at creating frameworks or branding things is cool. Like, coming up with acronyms is always fun. But unless that really resonates with the other person, unless they say I need that, unless it's something where they say, "Oh yeah, I'm part of your tribe," then it's really, it doesn't have as much mass appeal. So I've and you helped me with this too. You challenged me when we were doing our implementation, or on the acceleration calls. You're like, this is too broad, right? You need to tighten this thing up. And that is really good. I don't always get challenged like that in my day to day. And so getting challenged on things is good. It makes it better. And I think I'm getting better at challenging things. And now but having a framework to go by and to see the bigger picture is really helpful. Otherwise,
yeah.
you're sort of just creating asset here, asset there, and you're not doing it in an order that's going to give you the most success. So that's what I love about the program, is that I refer to it all the time, and it tells you the structure for success. It doesn't say do these 5 things and put them in order however you want to. It says do it in this exact order, otherwise you won't be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. I love that idea that the constraints there bring so much and allow for so much, creativity and better serving your clients at the end of the day, that you're putting things in a certain way in order to get the information to them in a way they can use, versus just teaching everything and hoping something sticks, right?
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, okay, we're going to do this in a very specific way so that your clients get the most from it.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and the thing is that my audience values their time, right? It's like, it's
Yeah.
professionals, it's people who are trying to start their own business. It's high functioning people. They don't really have the time to sift through everything. And so some places some courses, the value is in the length. Sometimes it's the time till the answer, right? So I've been
Yeah.
trying to say, time to the first win. So that's something that I'm really going for with this one, is like, how do I reduce somebody's time till their first win? And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm doing with this thing, is like, I'm trying to reduce your time until you win, because I know you're going to win, but it could take you 6 months. It could take you 6 years. My agency, before it was successful, it took about 5 years to figure out how to create an offer that people wanted, the framework that I'm doing. So it was like a 5 years of just like middling up and down, chopping away until we found this thing. And I feel the same inflection point's going to happen with this business and this offer, using your methods as well.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Well, let's go ahead and transition into my favorite part of the episode, which is the number one piece of advice that you would like to share with others. So specifically, what I would love to hear advice from you on is for people who have been in the entrepreneurial space for a while, but they're starting something new. They're kind of in that space where you were when you came to Peaceful Profits. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, it's great. I think there's really two aspects that go into a successful business. One is audience, the other one is sales techniques, right? So it's a combination, it's marketing and sales. Those are the two things to revenue growth, right?
Right.
And I've gotten the grass is always greener, and I've been jealous of people who build their audience and then monetize later, um, for their ability to, selling to a giant email list that you never sold to before is like shaking a money tree. It's amazing, right? So it's nice, there are people who just build a bunch of Twitter followers or become almost like influencer or influential in what they do. And they can't help but make money when they do something. So that's one way to do it. And I respect that. I was more of the other way. I was like, I quit my job without a plan, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to build an audience, and I'm going to make this thing work, and I'm going to just
Yeah.
keep on working and making it work and making it work. And so that was the other way that I did it, right? And I think that the big thing that I learned is that you can be the grinder, but at some point when you're grinding away, making the business work because because you don't have time to build an audience, that can become an addicting thing where you like addict yourself, you get addicted to survival and you get addicted to going there. But what ends up happening is you're always sort of making short-term decisions instead of long-term, like rebuilding your audience or investing
Mm,
in acquisition. So just realize these things are yin and yang.
yeah.
Marketing or building an audience is a very important thing. Selling is a very important thing, and you can't rob from one to pay the other for too long. Otherwise, you're going to find that you get an ill effect. If you only work on building the audience and you don't make an offer, then guess what? You're probably not going to you're going to have a lot of followers, but nothing to show for it. And
Right.
if you only make offers, but you don't rebuild that audience, restock the pond, find new people, broaden your horizons, you're going to have a revenue gap as well. You're going to basically level off or plateau. And so you have to have these things in a cycle, like a yin and yang type thing, audience and monetization method. And so make sure that you give equal time to doing both of those, or that you have an equal balance between them on a longer timeline versus saying, hey, sales, 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 or saying, hey, audience, audience, audience.
Yeah, that's so good to find that balance. Very good advice. Now, where can people find you, learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so datadrivenyou.com is my training of digital marketing skills, which I'm guessing a lot of people on this podcast probably are not that interested in because you're going to hire somebody to do that, right? So my new offer is available at profitpillars.co at the moment. I might be getting the .com, but right now it's a .co. And that site, there's an ability to apply to work with me. That's a little bit later stage. I also do a newsletter right on there. So there's like a newsletter opt-in form. You can see my thoughts on running this specific type of business. And so Profit Pillars, basically I've consolidated it down to 5 pillars that are all that matters for running a service business successfully. And those are prospecting, which is getting new customers in the door, right? We were just talking about that. It's pricing, getting your pricing right so that every deal is profitable. It's very easy to do. If you use, it's actually very easy to do. I have a calculator that shows how to do that. Pitching, which is the sales pitch process, putting a sales pitch out there. Process, which is basically documenting what makes you unique so you can have other people doing it for you. So you're doing it consistently every time. And then people, the only real way to expand is with great people and a great team. And so a lot of people, they want to have their own business, everything theirs. They don't want to like hire people, but having a team is really an important thing if you want to get past a certain hump. And so teaching people how to hire people is also a very important piece. So those are my 5 profit pillars that I teach in the program, and it shows how they really work hand in hand. You need all these things if you want to rise, if you want to build up, right? So it's like a pillar. If you have a 1 weak pillar in your foundation, things are going to topple over. But if you have all 5 of them in sync, then you will be able to grow to new heights.
Perfect. I love it. So profitpillars.co to check that out and get on the newsletter. Jeff, thank you for everything you've shared. It's been a great learning experience. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah. And everyone, you can go and learn if you are at where Jeff was when he came to Peaceful Profits and want more information on working with us, peacefulprofits.com/call. Again, if you want to learn more about Jeff, profitpillars.co. And thanks for everyone for being here.